Hello children, welcome to my UPSR segment. Today we'll be working on UPSR English Paper 2, Section C. In this episode, we will be covering number 1, the exam format and requirement for the UPSR English Paper 2, Section C. Number 2, analysis of possible topics that might appear for Section C. And number 3, tips on how to expand notes effectively. I'm so excited. Let's begin. UPSR English Paper 2, Section C, Note Expansion. Section C is the last question in the English Paper 2, UPSR. You are required to write a short essay in about 35 minutes. This essay is usually in the form of stories based on a series of pictures and notes given. This section tests your ability in producing a piece of continuous writing using a variety of simple and compound sentences with creative use of language. When I say creative use, I mean using a whole range of vocabulary, adjective, adverbs, similes, idioms, and descriptive language. 15 marks are allocated for this section, so in order to understand how marks are given, let's look at the marking scheme. There are 4 bands: low achievement, 1 to 4 marks, achievement, 5 to 8 marks, credit, 9 to 12 marks, and excellent, 13 to 15 marks. Markers generally look at how confident you are at expressing yourself in the English language. One way to do this is by checking whether you have used a variety of sentence structures, vocabulary, and descriptive language. Markers also check for grammatical and spelling mistakes. So in order to score for this section, you must remember the following tips. Use of both simple and compound sentences. Demonstrate understanding of the task by describing the picture. Mastery of vocabulary. Creative use of similes and idioms. Appropriate use of sentence connectors. Good introduction and ending. Minimal grammatical and spelling errors. I will explain further about how to use these tips. But first, let's analyze the topics that came out in the past UPSR papers. Analysis of topics. Now, this table shows the list of topics which appeared in the UPSR Paper 2, Section C from 2007 to 2014. From this table, we can see that topics related to activities had appeared the most. In addition, we can see that there was a combination of topics in 2010, 2011, and 2013. 2010 is about 2 girls buying ice cream for a poor girl. 2011 is about a boy saving his sister's cat, which couldn't get down from a tree. 2013 is about a family who worked together to harvest and cook tapioca. So we can anticipate that topics related to activities will appear again for the next UPSR examination. Also, there is a possibility that a combination of topics would appear. So it is better for you to prepare for this section by writing about stories with various topics. Tips for note expansion. Use of both simple and compound sentences. I have mentioned that one of the criteria for scoring in this section is to demonstrate confidence in expressing yourself in the English language. So by using a variety of sentence structures, you can show the markers that you are able to write confidently. It can be challenging because the longer the sentences you write, the more mistakes you're bound to make. You can play it safe by writing only in simple sentences, but you would be placed in an achievement band which is only around 5 to 8 marks. Simple sentences are sentences with one subject and one predicate. Compound sentences are 2 sentences which are joined by a coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunctions are words such as for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Use the mnemonic fanboys to remember. If you are very advanced and you can write complex sentences, that's even better. Compare these 2 examples I have written for the UPSR paper 2014. Example 1. Last week, Anissa and her mother were in the garden. Her mother used a trowel. Her mother wanted to make a hole in the soil. Anissa watered the plants. Bees buzzed above their heads. Last week, Anissa and her mother were working hard in the garden. Her mother used a trowel to make a hole in the soil so she could plant more flowers for the garden. Anissa wanted to help her mother, so she watered the plants with a watering can. They were so busy that they did not notice the bees above their heads. Which paragraph do you prefer? Both are written correctly. There are no grammatical or spelling mistakes. But which one looks more interesting to you? If I'm a UPSR marker, I will award more marks for example 2, because there are a variety of sentence structures. There is a good mix of simple, compound, and complex sentences. Demonstrate understanding of the task by describing the picture. It is very important that you include details to describe the picture. The more descriptive you are, the better the readers can imagine what you are trying to express. For example, let's look at the second picture. What can you see and how can you describe the picture? It is understood from the picture and the notes given that the mother was stung by a bee. How can we expand this idea and describe more about the picture? Here, you should use adjectives and adverbs to describe the situation. Now, let's think of adjectives you can use to describe the bee and the mother's skin. Also, think of the adverbs you can use to describe the bee's action and the mother's reaction towards the bee. So a good example should look like this. Suddenly, Anissa's mother was stung by an angry bee. She felt a sharp pain on her hand and she screamed loudly. Anissa quickly rushed to her mother and saw that her mother's arm was swollen. The skin around the area that was stung started to turn purple. Notice how the writer used adjectives and adverbs in the sentences. It gives the reader a taste of what the situation felt like at the time. Be warned though, that you should be careful in using adjectives and adverbs. Add them only when you are sure of the effect you want to create. Adjectives and adverbs that are wrongly used will give a bad impression to the marker. Mastery of vocabulary. A good piece of writing should demonstrate mastery of vocabulary. The more words you know, the better you'll be able to write, because you will be able to use words that are more suitable to describe something. For example, the word trowel given in the picture is a gardening tool. If you do not know what a trowel is, you will be in trouble because you wouldn't be able to describe what Anissa's mother was doing with it. Besides that, having strong vocabulary would let you use better words to describe something. Let's say a student has written, Anissa was worried. She quickly phoned her father at his office. Her father came home quickly. What words can you add or replace to make these sentences sound better? Since the word quickly was used twice, you should use another word. You can also replace the word came. What word can you use that shows someone is coming home quickly? You can use the word rushed. Her father rushed home immediately. See what a big difference it makes when you have strong vocabulary? Creative use of similes and idioms. If you're feeling confident, you should include 1 or 2 similes or idioms. Similes are comparisons that use the words as or like. For example, as fast as lightning, as busy as a bee, as brave as a lion. Idioms are expressions that have hidden meanings. Some common idioms are break a leg, an arm and a leg, beat around the bush, and call it a day. If used correctly, similes and idioms can add depth to your descriptions. For example, Anissa was worried sick. Her mother had difficulty breathing and it made her blood run cold. She quickly phoned her father at the office. Her father was all ears and rushed home as fast as lightning. Appropriate use of sentence connectors. A marker looks for a piece of writing that has good flow. Maintain the flow of the story by using sentence connectors. Sentence connectors are words like first, second, third, then, next, suddenly, and finally. These words are particularly useful, especially if you are recounting an event or describing a process. Good introduction and ending. In order to capture the attention of readers, begin and end your story with a good introduction and ending. A good piece of writing should be able to sustain interest of readers. So you can probably describe the weather or the condition of that particular day. It was a sunny day. It was a stormy night. Or you could describe the character. Anissa and her mother are avid gardeners. Anissa and her mother had the same hobbies. They loved gardening. As far as the ending of the story, you can either describe the character's feelings. Anissa was glad her mother was feeling better. Or give a moral value. Anissa and her mother learned from their lesson and would be careful working in the garden in the future. Or end with an idiom. Next time, Anissa and her mother would wear long-sleeve shirts and pants to protect their bodies. It's better to be safe than sorry. Minimal grammatical and spelling errors. Finally, make sure that your story is free from grammatical and spelling errors. Always allocate 5 minutes after you have written your story to check any errors. Task. Now it's time to put all what we've learned into practice. Using all the information I have given you, can you create a story based on the pictures and notes of Anissa and her mother? Starting with task 1 in your worksheet, I want you to brainstorm all the appropriate words and sentences that you think would be useful for the story. If possible, I want you to think of 7 adjectives, 7 adverbs, 5 sequence connectors, 3 similes, and 3 idioms. If you could think of more words and phrases, even better. Next, choose a few of these words you've brainstormed and write your story based on the criteria I have shown you. After you've finished, show it to your teacher or your friends and ask them what they think of your story. Don't forget to check for grammar and spelling mistakes. I hope you've learned something today. I had fun sharing my tips with you. Good luck with your revision. Till next time. Bye!